Longtime residents of Western Mass probably know the slogan, Amherst, where only the H is silent. It's not only a reminder of how the name of the town is pronounced, it's an homage to the community's activism and progressive values. The dual spirit of that slogan has sprung to life again with the formation of a new movement called H No. Its purpose? To have all cities and towns and counties in Western Mass embrace the silent H, and they've started a petition to create legislation to make it so. I spoke with Phil Knox, one of the leaders of the H No movement, and I asked Phil why this cause and why now.
Basically, H No is a coalition of people from around the region who think Amherst's silent H is really cool. Making all H's silent would make Western Massachusetts even cooler.
How so?
Well, it contributes to our unique identity. If I say, park your car, you think...
Boston, of course.
Right. So if Boston can have its Harvard Yard, then we can have Amherst. But we can add to that Atfield and Holyoke.
So Hadley would become...
Adley.
And South Hadley would be...
South Adley.
It's not just towns for your movement.
Counties, too.
Yeah.
Hampshire County, Empton County, Berkshire County.
The head of the ACLU office of Western Massachusetts, Bill Newman, who has no H's in his name, is outraged by this notion.
This is huge and historic injustice. This is nothing short of ageism.
Jennifer from Ashfield has a thought.
Ashfield doesn't want this.
Why not?
Oh.
I'm in Northampton, where this is a particularly complex issue since the name of the town is spelled with only one H, but it is distinctly pronounced with two H's, Northampton. It has become a safe haven for H's. We've just reached the scene of a pro-H rally at the edge of town.
Don't silent our H!
Don't our H!
We have some folks milling about and chanting. Lawn signs saying "Don't shush our H's" are starting to pop up like crocuses at the end of winter. I spoke with one of the protesters, Hillary H. Harrelson, and asked her why she was here.
I'm here to stand up for traditional linguistic values. We need to stop this foolishness before it can spread.
So you think this is more than a harmless, cool idea?
First they take the H from your town, then they come after the H's in your name. What's going to happen to Helen Hills Chapel at Smith College?
Phil Knox, the leader of the H No movement, has a response to that idea.
This is fear-mongering. We are not coming after people's names. And I'd point out that if we did, it would be pretty unlikely that Governor Ely would sign such a bill.
I'll review any legislation that reaches my desk, but Maura Ely doesn't really have the same ring to it.
Well, folks, there you have it. The two sides of the latest silent H debate. At least as it stands on this, the first day of April.
We'll see if this is still a topic on April 3rd.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, more fooling around on all of these hills and beyond with Happier Valley Comedy as we speak with Pam Victor and Angelica Castro about the community of merrymakers making laughter more local.
And we'll hear about an organization in the Berkshires making sure more of our community gets into more creative activities. Community Access to the Arts has just received a large gift from Mackenzie Scott's Foundation, and we'll hear from Executive Director Margaret Keller how that will affect the programs and features they offer.
And darkness approaches.
That's just the moon.
That's no moon. It's poetic license.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Time for a little kitchen table astronomy with Hampshire College astronomer Dr. Salman Hamid. Mr. Universe, I'm at your Amherst kitchen table, but I can't see you because we're so excited about the eclipse a week from today that we both got our eclipse glasses on and they are remarkably dark.
Well, I can't see it either. Let me...
All right, we'll take them off.
And plus I have to use my glasses to read.
Oh, yeah, your reading glasses.
But anyway, yes, eclipse is next Monday, April 8th.
It'll be happening during the course of the Fabulous 413 between 3 and 4 p.m.
That is right. And so if you are, again, on the fence about it, I always feel weird about this because, because a lot of people cannot go to the path of totality.
Right.
Here in the Pioneer Valley, you will get about 95% of the eclipse, meaning to say the moon will not cover the entire disk of the sun, but it will cover 95% of it. And there are, UMass Amherst, for example, is doing a wonderful event at Sunwheel and Metawampe Lawn and that's on UMass campus. You can go over there, and they will have solar glasses as well. If you don't have them already, you can get them as long as supply lasts. So keep that in mind. And here, if I get it right, I mean, I think in the local area, it's going to be the totality is around 3:30 or 3:25, 3:30, something like that. So do check the local time. And the reason I don't have with me on my notes the really local time is because I have Burlington time, where is totality, and I can give you that, which is 3:26 p.m. And it's going to last for about 3 minutes.
Almost as long as Bonnie Tyler's song Total Eclipse of the Heart.
That's right.
Turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit lonely.
And I am planning on going to Dallas, Texas, where it's going to be a little earlier. And it's going to last about close to about 4 minutes. And but we'll see. We just hope that it's not going to be cloudy.
That is a big deal. And that is why you're going to Dallas, because you think the odds would be better that there would be better weather and clearer skies so you could actually see the eclipse as opposed to just experience the darkness. But you were saying that the New York Times has a handy-dandy weather eclipse app.
Yes, and let me dry my tears first about this, because it looks like that it's going to be cloudy right now. And again, long-range forecasts are tricky, but right now it looks like it's going to be cloudy pretty much in the entire path of totality in Texas. And I know there are a lot of astronomer friends are also going there. So, but New York Times, and there are other places as well, but New York Times has a visual aid over there, which gives you the prediction right now of how much cloud cover is going to be in the path of totality. You can go, you can zoom in, you can look at Burlington, you can look at Rochester, you can New York, you can look at Indianapolis, you can look in Dallas, Austin, and all other places. So that's a very good site. But just keep in mind, right now it's still several days away, but panic has begun.
Yeah. Get these eclipse glasses that we have right here soon. I remember last time there was an eclipse, there was a scramble for them. They're like the most valuable thing for 3 minutes, and then the next minute they're useless. But most gas stations, I've noticed, and like hardware stores have these glasses.
But make sure these are the right glasses. It's very crucial. So in terms of eclipses, one of the rules, do not look at the sun without these solar glasses when it's partial eclipse.
Unless you have total immunity because you're the president of the United States.
I did everything right and they indicted me.
You can get permanent eye damage. Do not. So that's the first thing, okay? Second thing is try to get the glasses that are certified, the solar eclipse glasses. You can find, like the American Astronomical Society has a great link to that. So to go to their website and find glasses that are authorized. And that is, again, your eyes may be useful.
As we just experienced by putting eclipse glasses on here at your kitchen table when there's not an eclipse. Couldn't see anything.
And that's how it should be, right? So just make sure you have that. During totality, so this is only for 3 or 4 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever the total eclipse is, then you should take off your glasses, because otherwise you won't be able to see the cool, amazing thing that the sun has been blocked by the moon. At that time, it is totally fine to look at the sun without your eclipse glasses.
So what, should you like set an alarm to know when the exact right time is going to be? How do you know it's the exact right time? This is not something you want to screw up.
Fear. I think fear would be the right alarm. Like, you look at, you can use the alarm, you can do other things, but just make sure, that because as soon as it starts to come out, your retina is actually wide because it has been dark. But then as immediately the sunlight starts to come in, so it is not prepared for this burst of light that is going to come right after that. So make sure that you don't do that. That said, don't be afraid of it. It is an amazing phenomena, but when it's partial eclipse, if you are not during the total eclipse time, use only your eclipse glasses to look at the sun. If you don't have that, there are other possibilities also. You can create a pinhole camera using serial box. Again, you can look at how to build a pinhole camera. NASA has these websites too.
I'll also say that pretty much every library that I've seen or driven by has a sign out about some activity they're doing about the eclipse, making these type of pinhole cameras. I know that one of our underwriters, PV Squared, is doing a thing at the Greenfield Library. I know the Turner's Library. I just drove by the Sunderland Library. All these places are doing stuff. We here in the 413 are not in the path of totality. Let's say cloudy or not cloudy, depending on the weather, with 95 to 98% coverage by the shadow of the moon. Or if the moon itself is in front of the sun. That's the science of what makes the eclipse happen. What will we experience with that level of coverage during an eclipse versus what you're hoping to experience in Dallas or wherever you might go?
Right. So you should see wherever you are when the sun is partially eclipsed by the sun. Oh, Bonnie Tyler song. That was the one that was cut off. Like, no, partial eclipse of the heart.
Help me, Santa Claus, come close to my heart.
Yeah, they were like, that was a B-side. It didn't do as well. Yeah.
But you should still be able to, if you look around. So one of the things that people suggest is when you are in the place of an eclipse, and again, I'm talking about total eclipse as well, it's not just the eyes. I mean, eyes are just one senses. Use all of your senses to experience the eclipse, because especially with totality, you are going to hear insects, for example, start coming out that normally doesn't, even though it's a few minutes. And again, I went to see the eclipse, the total eclipse in 2017 in Missouri. And this is something that I did not expect, because the crickets started to chirping, and then the temperature falls down, and the atmosphere around you changes, and it's only a couple of minutes, and it's just amazing. So my advice, if you are in the path of totality, is forget about worrying about taking pictures and taking other things. Enjoy it. Just be in the moment.
Yeah. Somebody's going to take a way better picture than you are of this thing.
And also, this is a rare event. It's only a couple of minutes long. And this is one of those cases where the reason why we are excited about it, the reason why we are doing it, is because this is one of those instances where we are seeing, hey, you are linked with the cosmos. There are things that constantly happen in the universe, and here you have a chance to experience it. So I would say experience it. So that's the one thing. But before that as well, even if it's 95%, look for what is happening to the shadows, because normally sunlight comes in and it creates shadows, which is great for trees or from whatever. But in this particular case, the sunlight is itself being blocked by something in front, and that is the moon. And so you will start seeing these shadows that are shape of a crescent, for example, and you will see increasingly. So the total eclipse lasts for about 2 hours or so.
From the beginning of the coverage.
The beginning of the coverage, when the moon starts to cover the sun, that's a much longer period of time. Totality occurs for a couple of minutes. But during this time, you should be able to see these beautiful patterns, and there is plenty of time to think about them, to see them on the ground, look at them, how it is going in. I should repeat, do not look at the sun without the eclipse glasses.
I did everything right.
But you can look at the ground. Do not look at the ground with the eclipse glasses, because you want to see something on it. So that's what you should be able to see. And it's just, you are seeing action in the universe right in front of you, which oftentimes it will give you a chance to just disconnect from everything that you're doing and just be in the moment with the universe. But if it's cloudy, I don't know what to do. That is disappointment. But I should mention that there is a local connection regarding that. And that is, there was an Amherst College astronomer for 40 years, David Peck Todd. He was, by the way, the other connection that comes in, that he was married to Mabel Loomis Todd, who is responsible for publishing the first set of poems and letters of Emily Dickenson. And there is a whole sort of affair as well, where Mabel Loomis Todd was having an affair with Emily Dickinson's married brother, and so forth. So, and it was also well known. This is
that was a total eclipse of the heart, I guess.
Living in a party cake and giving up spot.
This was in the 19th century, and who knows? Amherst was like that in the 19th century. I don't want to say anything about that, but. David Pegg Todd actually led many expeditions, solar eclipse expeditions, including the first one he went to. He went for the eclipse on July 29th, 1878 to Dallas.
Wow.
So I consider that sort of like following those footsteps. But then he led eclipses, and in fact, two of these expeditions explicitly had Amherst name on it. There was like an Amherst expedition to Japan, solar eclipse expedition to Japan. He went to Angola, Russia, Brazil, Libya, Peru. I mean, he did amazing. He was an
This all in the 19th century?
Yes, and early 20th century.
It wasn't easy to go to those places from Amherst then.
It was.
They didn't even have Bradley.
A lot of effort would go in preparing for that, but he's actually more well known for the transit of Venus that happened in 1882, which actually he actually did observe that. But for the solar eclipses, I should mention that, and this is the cruelty of nature, that he did all of these things, and at that time, as we are saying, it would take a lot of effort to go there. He would bring in instruments with him, and in almost all of his expeditions, it was cloudy.
Oh my God.
And in fact, I was reading about it, that years after his death, apparently an astronomer went to his daughter, and he actually said, that your father should be called Professor Todd of the cloudy eclipses. I thought that was a little cruel, but anyway, so that's our local connection. And his wife, Mabel Loomis Todd, and again, I think I've mentioned she was having an affair with Emily Dickinson's brother. Mm-hmm. She actually wrote a book as well, which was called Total Eclipses of the Sun in 1894. She actually accompanied her husband in many of these eclipse expeditions as well. And her final chapter of this book actually opens from a verse from Emily Dickinson, because Emily Dickinson has a couple of verses about solar eclipses as well, and which goes, eclipses are predicted, science bows them in. But then she adds, Mabel, she actually says after that, poets usually care little for the modus operandi of scientific phenomena. The lines above, she's talking about the Emily Dickinson's line, the lines above embrace the fact, the result, the gist of the whole matter, and that ought to be sufficient. But many will desire to know more of the detail. Mm-hmm. I think it's just so cool. So she's really thinking as scientists do. But there is more to it, and let's figure that out. So first of all, this is amazing. That this is our very local Amherst connection. There is a history to that. And both David Pegg Todd, Mabel Loomis Todd were here. But eclipses do provide us with a lot of science, and in fact, some of the most groundbreaking stuff in astronomy is also tied to solar eclipses.
There will certainly be more about the eclipse as we get closer to the darkening skies a week from today.
We'll get away from the darkness and into the chuckles with folks from Happier Valley Comedy soon.
But next, good news for arts and everyone with CATA Executive Director Margaret Keller.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
From the Berkshire Eagle, Dateline, which is Khalees's favorite word.
It sounds so weirdly corny.
Dateline, Grace Barrington, a philanthropist who's sharing her billions with nonprofits, has given $2 million of it to community access to the arts. CATA, which serves people with disabilities through its varied art programs and workshops.
CATA received the competitive award from Mackenzie Scott's Yield Giving. Mackenzie Scott, as of January 2024, had a net worth of $40.6 billion, owning a 4% stake in Amazon, the company her then husband Jeff Bezos founded. As such, Scott is the third wealthiest woman in the United States and the 47th wealthiest individual in the world.
CATA was one of 250 groups to receive the money out of more than 6,300 that applied. It was one of 18 organizations in Massachusetts to receive an award, and we are joined by CATA Community Access to the Arts Executive Director, Margaret Keller. Thanks so much, and congratulations on the major gift.
Thank you. Thank you. It's truly an exciting moment for an organization that began 30 years ago in our founder, Sandy Newman's living room.
That's a great place to start, I think. Tell us about what the work that CATA does and why it was formed.
Yes. Well, CATA was founded in 1993 by dance therapist Sandy Newman in order to nurture and celebrate the creativity of people with disabilities across the Berkshires. And since then, we have been on a 30-year growth trajectory, and we are now serving and engaging over 1,000 people with developmental and intellectual disabilities, autism, brain injuries, and dementia across Berkshire County, Massachusetts, and Columbia County, New York.
We won't talk about them. We're the fabulous 413 exclusively. We appreciate your helping those folks, too.
Don't make it sound like pity. We're taking on the New Yorkers. It's not their fault they don't live here.
Yes.
Or maybe it is. Who knows? I didn't realize that your program incorporates folks with dementia. Was there a conscious decision to have it be multi-generational and sort of cross-spectrum like that?
Yes, that's really been part of the model since the beginning. We have strong partnerships, as you know, with 55 different organizations. And among those are elder care residences and nursing homes. Serving people across the spectrum of age has been part of CATA's model since the beginning. And as we've expanded, we have dug even more deeply into that. And we're now working with younger and younger artists with disabilities as well.
We're speaking with CATA Executive Director Margaret Keller, who've just received this major grant from the Mackenzie Scott Yield Giving Foundation, and we will talk a little bit about what that money is going to go towards. But give us a picture of what the day in and day out is for CATA. Like, what are some of the programs that you've got ongoing?
Yes. We provide programs here in our beautiful new facility in Great Barrington, where we have two gorgeous art studios, one that was designed specifically for visual art and writing, and the other was designed specifically for the performing arts and dance. So we have people who come to our CATA studios here in Great Barrington, really from all across our community. And through those very robust community-based partnerships that I mentioned earlier with 55 different organizations. So we have folks coming here every day of the week, Monday through Friday, to participate in stimulating and lively and dynamic arts workshops across about 14 different art forms. Then we are also sending our wonderful CATA faculty into the settings of our 55 program partners so that they are providing programs on site for people in residential programs, people in rehabilitation programs, and for young people in local public schools, young people with special needs in local public schools. So we have that dual model where we're giving people the opportunity to come to us, but we are also actively going to them where they are during the day, allows us to reach as many people with disabilities as possible across our community.
And that going out, I don't think, is limited to just like your programs. I see that you just ended an exhibit at the Berkshire Botanical Gardens. Are there other local partners that bring you into their space to collaborate that way too, to broaden where CATA gets to go?
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because that is also really an important part of our model. We are working not only with those 55 program partners, but also with a growing group of cultural and arts organizations to bring the incredible artwork of our CATA artists out into the community. And I think that's such an important piece of what makes CATA's model distinctive. We are an arts organization with a mission for profound social change. We know that people with developmental and intellectual disabilities deserve opportunities to thrive. We know that they have so much to say about how they see the world. So at CATA, our artists have the profound experience of saying this is who I am through painting and dance and acting and music and poetry. And then we, as community members, have the profound experience of witnessing their art and seeing a perspective that we might not have encountered before. So our partnerships with cultural organizations are really an important piece of that, through art exhibits at places like the Berkshire Botanical Gardens and the Clark Art Institute and the Liechtenstein Center for the Arts, through the poetry readings that we do every year at the Mount in Lenox, through the annual performance that we have every year at Shakespeare and Company in Lenox. We are giving our community an opportunity to engage with the incredible talents of our CATA artists.
We're speaking with Community Access to the Arts Executive Director, Margaret Keller. CATA, as you're saying it, I was calling it CATA, which sounded like a Shotokan karate type martial arts form.
Like Gun Kata in the Wachowski sisters.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Movie.
Yeah.
What's exciting about the Mackenzie Scott's yield giving of $2 million, one of only 18 organizations in Massachusetts to receive it, a hugely competitive grant with no strings attached, is that I heard that you applied for $1 million, but because you were such a high-scoring applicant, you got $2 million. Tell us what the process was like and what you think the narrative was that pushed the work that you're doing with CATA over the edge to make it double what you even asked for.
Yeah. This was an open call application process that was launched in March of 2023. And as you've said, it was designed to be a $1 million grant opportunity. Nonprofit organizations across the United States that had a budget between $1 million and $5 million were able to apply. We did not have any kind of inside track or prior relationship. We simply applied for the grant opportunity along with over 6,000 other organizations across the United States. It was a very rigorous application process that had multiple stages of review that included an in-depth peer review process as well as review by panels of national experts. We were absolutely delighted when we learned that we had not only received a grant, but that because our application was among the highest scoring, the final review panel had made the decision to double our grant award.
That's incredible. It makes me feel a little less guilty on the rare occasion that I purchase something from Amazon now. So,
And what does doubling that amount, that gift, really mean for your programs? What does it mean that you're able to do on top of what you had already been planning to do with the gift money if you received it?
Yeah. We understand the kind of invaluable momentum and inspiration that this kind of support can provide, and we see it as an opportunity to tell CATA's story to a wider audience, and that's tremendously exciting. We want to seize this opportunity and use this grant to inspire broad community support so that we can do even more for our community. We intend to use the yield grant to launch the CATA for All capital campaign to help more people with disabilities thrive through CATA arts programs.
tell us a little bit about what that'll look like.
We know that there is unmet need in our community, especially for children and young people with special needs and for people who are struggling financially, who need and deserve access to the arts. And we see this as an opportunity for us to work closely with our program partners and with our community and with our families and CATA artists to really hear directly from them about their needs, their challenges, the opportunities that they see, and to grow our programs to meet their needs.
That's exciting. I think it's such a great thing. I love that there's such a strong arts focus on this. I think it's wonderful work that you're doing there at Community Access to the Arts. Well-deserved $2 million, no strings attached gift from Mackenzie Scott's Yield Giving.
The $2 million gift isn't like an end-all be-all for what CATA actually needs financially. Can you talk about people donating more if they'd like to and your upcoming gala?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking that question because it is an important one to just really put this in the context of our financial model and our budget and the work that we do. CATA, with all of the growth that we have achieved over our 30-year history, and especially in these last 8 to 10 years, as we have really surged forward to grow in response to the growing needs in our community, our annual budget is now $2.6 million. We rely on community support to deliver over 2,000 programs each year to 1,000 people with disabilities across the community. We don't have an endowment. We don't have multi-year federal or state funding that we can rely on. And CATA is unusual even among other nonprofits because such a high percentage of our annual budget originates from contributed income. Each year, we must fundraise 85% of that $2.6 million annual budget in order to deliver our mission. And we do that through the generous response of people in this community and through gifts of all sizes that truly make a difference and that make our daily work possible. A gift like this one from Mackenzie Scott and Yield Giving means that all of that unwavering support will go even farther to make a difference in the lives of people with disabilities. We have our CATA Gala, which is right around the corner in early May. And that is an opportunity to tell our CATA story. That is an opportunity to showcase the incredible talents of our artists with disabilities and also to fundraise, to turn to our community, to invite them to continue to support this vital work.
Margaret Keller is the executive director of CATA, Community Access to the Arts, which has just received a $2 million grant from Mackenzie Scott's Yield Giving. Once again, congratulations. I'm glad that they doubled it. Seems so well-deserved. I hope that one day we'll be able to come out there and check out your work in action.
Yeah.
Oh, we would love to host you here. We absolutely always love any opportunity to show off our beautiful art studios and also to introduce you to our CATA artists because they have so much to say and so much to share with the wider community. So that would be a pleasure. Please come out and visit.
Will do.
Will do. Coming up, laugh some more with Happier Valley Comedy.
It is sort of like a national day of comedy today.
We're just saying.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar, offering solar options, energy security, and solutions for the local community. Learn more at northeast-solar.com.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. It's April Fool's Day, our national comedic holiday, sort of. And joining us for a local take on happiness and hilarity is Pam Victor, the founder / president / head of happiness of Happier Valley Comedy. She's been improvising professionally since 2003 when she founded the Ha-Has, who performed together for 17 years. Pam Victor is a nationally... Betsy, you can't move the script on me! That was your April Fool's joke. Engineer Betsy Cordes.
I'm just nationally.
Pam Victor is nationally.
That's it.
Touring improv teacher and co-author of Improvisation at the Speed of Life, Pam has studied improv at I.O. Chicago, the Annoyance Theater, Chicago, Improv Boston. She's also studied with Second City Chicago teachers. And in 2019, Pam was awarded the New England Public Radio Arts and Humanities Award. Hey, that's us.
I know. Thank you, guys. They so regretted it, too.
We are also joined by Angelica Canlas Castro. They are the revolutionary love coach, aiming to spread love, listening, openness, vulnerability, and empathy. She's also works at UMass, educating institutions and organizations about JEDI. There's so many great acronyms.
This is the best one.
Justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. She's also a Happier Valley Comedy performance regular and the newest member of their board of directors. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
First of all, Angelica, did you come up with JEDI as that acronym? Because, I mean, we hear DEI a lot of the times, but JEDI, I mean,
Well, at Happier Valley Comedy, Scott Braidman, my colleague, general manager, artistic director, was like, "But can we call it the Jedi Council?"
Oh, yeah.
He's a big Star Wars fan.
right.
So.
Yeah, everybody's always talking about STEM, but I think that they should add arts to it and call it meats and just rearrange it.
Meats instead of steam? I mean, I always
like
hear it
meats.
as steam instead.
Yeah, I like meats.
Well,
though.
I think that there's a lot of, DEI is definitely, it's and I see it as LGBTQIA plus. I think there, Jedi was added for justice. Sometimes you'll hear DEIB for belonging. And so there are different acronyms for it. But yes, so it aligns with Happier Valley Comedy, who also uses Jedi, and so do I.
And as a bisexual human, I have always loved quilt bag as opposed to LGBTQIA plus.
I do love that one too.
Oh, I never heard
Nice.
that one.
It makes quilt bag.
Yes. Let's go back to improv. Pam Victor, I've been following your journey for a long time, which has been wonderful to watch. But for those who aren't overly familiar with what improv is versus, say, stand-up comedy, let's start there.
Let's start there. Well, improv, we don't have a script. We don't know what we're going to say. We get up on stage and make it up.
So it's be like if you were in the middle of reading a script, but your engineer pulled it out away from you right in the middle of it.
Or if your engineer's just like, no script, Monty, go for it.
You just got to wing it.
You just got to wing it.
People are more familiar with it because of first the British version of Whose Line Is It Anyway, and then the U.S. version of Whose Line Is It Anyway. That's essentially what a one look at improv.
One look at it. That's short form improv comedy games, which is one of the shows we do. But we also do a lot of long form improv comedy, which could be something like a 2-act improvised play, or an improvised musical, which we do on the first Saturday of every month, or a series of improvised scene inspired by true stories. There are many, many, many different formats.
But it's still the thing where you're getting some audience input and then
Correct.
and then improvising off of that basis.
That is right.
And
That is right. We don't know what we're going to say.
It seems like magic when you see people do it, especially if you create a musical ex nihilo from one suggestion from somebody in the audience. But there are tricks.
Who's ex nihilo?
That's my ex-girlfriend.
She was great at musical improv.
She was so good at it, it was embarrassing.
Can't take her anywhere.
When you do this, though, and what you're teaching, essentially, at Happier Valley Comedy is some of, the tricks of the trade to train your brain to get ready to do this kind of thing.
There's decades of preparation go into those 45 minutes up on stage.
Yeah.
And at Happier Valley Comedy, honestly, most of our students are not interested in performing improv. They say they take improv comedy because it's cheaper than therapy.
Is it covered by insurance?
I wish. But there is a program that we're applying for that actually will start covering stuff like that. But really, the core of our curriculum is all about quieting the inner critic, because in order to improvise, you have to hear each other's voices without judgment and accept what the other person is saying and move forward together with joy and ease. And what gets in the way of that most of all is our inner critic.
Mm-hmm.
So first 8 weeks, it's really about quieting the inner critic, practicing that skill.
I was lucky enough to do some improv in college, and I think today that those things that I learned, those skills that I learned that you're teaching at Happier Valley help me every single day through what I do right now. The concept of working together as a team, the concept of yes and, where you're not trying to outdo one another or one-up everybody to be funnier. You're really taking what they've given you. Yeah, and build something else and continue to build out of it.
One of my teachers says you accept everything that they give you as right, and our job is to make it righter.
I love that. Angelica, who is the Jedi coordinator, not only for Happier Valley Comedy, but is doing this professionally at UMass full-time, where you're speaking to us from right now.
Yes.
Tell us what got you involved with Happier Valley Comedy, and then eventually coming on to be a board member, right? You're on the board of directors now.
Yes, I am, and so honored to be. Thank you for that question. I found Happier Valley Comedy, I think like most people find it. It's like, where is that little thing in the little hole in the wall over there?
Yeah, you've probably driven by it 100 times on Route 9 in Hadley, but maybe have not noticed that it's there yet. Yeah.
Yes, and I had a dear friend, actually, this was his old office where he was before. Oscar invited me to take an improv class with him, and it was actually a storytelling class, and I was 5 minutes away, and I said, where is this place? And I go, and it's this gem of a place that not a lot of people know about, even though their shows are always sold out. I feel like there's not a lot of people that still know about them. So that's the first class I took. This was pre shutdown pre-pandemic, I took that class and I was able to really build that muscle of showing up and just speaking spontaneously, not having to think through everything that I say, not self-doubt. It's just kind of play. And it was so fun. And I said, how come I haven't found this before today? And since then, I've been part of the community and I've loved learning from Pam and her amazing teachers there, how to really redefine living, making mistakes, right? Like something we do all the time. And instead of judging ourselves and getting so down on ourselves, it's like, oh, yay, made a mistake. That means I'm learning and growing. And that's really the biggest part that I'm learning, among other things. And why I chose to become a board member, Pam invited me, and we've been talking about it over the last few years. But one of the reasons, as a JEDI Justice, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion consultant, and now career full-time here at UMass, I saw that this is something that Pam and her team were passionate about. They were already, looking at language to include everyone. They were thinking about how to make the place not just inclusive, but also giving back. When she first asked me about language, maybe around reparations, giving back to folks who maybe have to come into the space and do some invisible labor being there, maybe as a BIPOC person. And so, and this was years ago, she started to ask about language, and they've been doing a lot of amazing work. And so I feel like as a board member and as their JEDI advisor, I'm doing the work with them and not for them. It's not something that like, oh, great, can you do this for us? So we look great and we have someone else do it. They've been doing the work. And so I really felt honored to be on this journey alongside with them.
Angelica, it sounds like those things that you've learned in class, you are able to apply, at least in some regard, professionally. But are you able to pass on some of those teachings and some of those practices on UMass campus to others?
Yes, it's a great question. Well, since I found Happier Valley Comedy, I've been spreading the word, and part of it is really, they've grown, I believe, word of mouth. And so, and everyone I talk to, they're like, wait, where's that? Kind of the same reaction that I had.
Route 9 in Hadley.
Yes. And so we said we need, one of those dolls that kind of, what are those called?
Oh, like one of those wiggly things, the air?
Yeah, from the...
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We have one that's an asparagus that only comes out in June.
We'll let you borrow it.
They wanted me to do it.
No.
No.
It takes a lot of flexibility and a lot of stretching at this age. I can't flail like that anymore.
I know.
Yeah. And so to your question, I, definitely have spread the word, and there are ways that it's a lifestyle, right? The things that we're learning is not just like, oh, we're just playing fun games and, I'll revisit that next week when I have class. It really, I've seen myself redefining how to show up in life, how to, again, not think through everything and sometimes be spontaneous. And even though we want to be thoughtful, especially when we talk about JEDI, right? We want to be thoughtful about what we say and how we say it. I think just as a way of life, it's a way to show up and really be present, right? Like so much of us spend so much time thinking about the past or the future, and we're not present. And it really is a way to be present for ourselves and be present for our interactions with each other.
It's both Jedi in the Star Wars notion of it, as well as the justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion notion of it, using the Force to be present in it. I think that's amazing. Coming up, a little bit more with Angelica Canlas Castro and Pam Victor from Happier Valley Comedy. It is April Fool's Day after all. I want to hear how Pam Victor, ex nihilo, dreamed this theater into existence.
And how you made it into a nonprofit for sure. You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. It's April Fool's Day, and we're talking about Happier Valley Comedy with the head of happiness from Happier Valley Comedy, Pam Victor, the founder of Happier Valley Comedy, and their newest board member, who is the JEDI coordinator, Angelica Canlas Castro, JEDI being Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. Pam, this was an idea that I got to follow from its inception, where you were just really excited about improv. You were learning from all the people that we mentioned before, and then you dreamed this into existence. Tell us a little bit about that decision in your life and the journey?
Yeah, it started as an experiment to see if I can make a living doing what I love. And because I'm an extremely creative person, I called it the Can I Make a Living Doing What I Love experiment. Where I gave myself 1 year to see if I could make $16,000 strictly through improv comedy. And I
Why
remember
that much money?
Because it was a poverty line for a family of 2 at the time. And it seemed like more money than I could ever imagine making through improv. I certainly did it and still don't know anybody living in a small town making a living full time. And also, I figured if I didn't make it, at least I could write an article about how an artist can't even make the poverty line in the valley.
Right.
But I did make it. Yeah, after 6 months.
I followed that whole journey that year, and you made
did.
the amount of money that you wanted to make that year.
I did. And
Sooner than you expected, too.
In 6 months, and then a year later, I was founding Happier Valley Comedy. Yeah.
When did it become a nonprofit?
Right, on that day that I founded it.
Because you weren't making a profit, so it was a nonprofit from the beginning.
That's the fact check.
Okay, that's fact.
I'll let you know that when we start making a profit.
Then you have to change your status.
We'll have to change our status. Don't worry, it won't be a problem. We're in the arts. It's good. We're fine. We decided to become a nonprofit. I thought it would be a good idea to have a board because at the time I was doing it alone and having that support would be great. And again, thinking about how we were going to survive financially, being able to get grants seemed like an important thing as well.
Yes.
I don't know.
You're on the cusp of you want to build a new theater. That's the next level of the dream.
Yeah, it's the next level of the dream. I think about 5 years in, I hired our second full-time employee. And then about a year and a half ago, we hired our third full-time employee, Maddie Benjamin, who's our facilitator of fun. And we last year started our Dream Theater Expansion Fund, where we're trying to build our Dream Theater next door. It's right next door to our current theater. And it's going to be an accessible stage and a slightly larger audience. So hopefully we won't have to turn people away when we sell out.
Is this into the dance spot that was
Correct.
to the left of the right of this place and not into the bar that's on the left of the place?
Right,
cool.
yes.
Because people will still need to drink for their comedy sometimes.
There's not a bar anymore, so you could work out beforehand. Oh, well. Our friends at My Health Matters. So, yeah, you work out, come over, and we'll work out your funny bone.
That's Pam Victor, the head of happiness at Happier Valley Comedy. Angelica Canlas Castro, you are the JEDI, Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Coordinator, and the newest board member for Happier Valley Comedy. We only have a couple minutes left, but how is Happier Valley reaching out to make comedy, which is oftentimes not very inclusive and oftentimes a hurtful space to people of varying backgrounds? How are you making it a more inclusive space?
Yes, well, again, I, as a board member, I'm following the lead of the Pam, who is the head of happiness, and she really lives that title. I say that to her all the time. And, her idea is really to be able to train the teachers and the community there, because oftentimes, like you said, Monty, sometimes with comedy and especially with improv, right, you're not thinking necessarily about what you're saying, and you might say something hurtful. So we are doing a training on how to reframe that moment and also how to facilitate courageous and challenging conversations around things that come up in class. And one of the things that I love, I've been a part of this and I've taken advantage of it, and so has my community that I brought in, is they have equity pricing. And so one of the things that they're wanting the community to know is if you identify as a BIPOC person and you want to take classes, workshops, and because of the invisible labor that I mentioned, being in a predominantly white space, you can choose to take the class for 50% off. And there's a code or 100% off. And it's not about a needs base. It's really around, what you are wanting to pay and what you feel it's worth. And so that's available for anyone. And I've taken advantage of it. And like I said, most people that I've brought in have taken advantage of it, and maybe the only way that some folks can take classes.
That's wicked cool.
That's Angelica Castro, the JEDI coordinator for Happier Valley Comedy. We have a couple seconds left, Pam. What's coming up with Happier Valley Comedy?
What's coming up with Happier Valley Comedy? Well, we have shows every single Saturday night, a different show depending on what Saturday. So this Saturday will be the Understudies performing their improvised musical. We have community comedy nights on Friday nights showcasing emerging talent. That's just $5. And registration is open now for classes at happiervalley.com. One of the Improv 1 classes is full, but the other one still has spots and some rooms in an improviser's guide to mindfulness as well.
Awesome.
We'll be following your dream theater as it continues on, and you're building this dream ex nihilo, which I'm going to say as many times as I can during this one. Pam Victor and Angelica Castro from Happier Valley Comedy, thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Monty, Khalees, thanks for having us.
Sure. Further success in building the resilience of your comedy muscle. Happy birthday to Gil Scott Heron, who we're listening to right now.
And Rachel Maddow.
And Rachel Maddow.
And my daughter, Violet. She was born on April Fool's Day.
And Jill Kaufman, I just found out. Well, tomorrow's the second day of April, and we're going to talk about more inclusion when we talk about the Power of Truths Festival. We'll see you then.